Okay, so I had a whole review already written for this game, but I keep listening back to it and it sounds super, super like fake and robotic, so I didn't like it. So this is me re-recording it. Sonic Frontiers, jeez, this game's been out for what, a month already? And I've been wanting to do this for you for a long time. But I guess for me that's good because I have a lot more time to sit on it and actually play a bit more and they actually get my full thoughts on the game. So you can think of this as a final review of Frontiers. You know, after all this like all the I know we have the DLC on the way. Well, and I think I'm gonna review that on its own, but this is gonna be its own review. So this is my review of Sonic Frontiers. Here we go. First thing I want to talk about is the control, because in my opinion, the most important thing about a platformer is control. How does the character feel to play? I feel like if a control of a third person or any type of platformer is bad, it ruins the whole game. I am glad to say Sonic Frontiers has probably the best control of a Sonic game, only next to like Adventure Series. I've never felt this control in a Sonic game in a long time, because for the past like 10, 15 years we've had like straight linear boost games where it limits Sonic controls, where it's more of a race car rather than an actual character that moves normally. It's so good to get that control back in a Sonic game. The one problem I do have with it then is there is no like very little momentum. Sonic going down hills and only up hills does not gain or lose momentum. And I feel like that's done because of one, it's an open world, two, for precise platforming. And I get it, but like it would have been nice because with momentum, the playing field fucking opens up so much. And you can see me in the gameplay I'm using mods. I'm using a momentum mod that actually adds in like slope of momentum and jump. Speaking of jumping, when you jump, all your momentum is lost.
No!
That is probably the biggest thing that bothers me about this. I, if anything, at least have your momentum carried in a jump. It makes sense just to have it. It makes jumps hard to make sometimes. Like you can't go over certain like ravines or cliffs because you won't have momentum in that jump and you'll just not make it over that cliff. And what's weird is that if you're on a rail, momentum is carried in a jump, which again it's so fun to pull off because you have these skips you can do. You can skip whole parts of the island, and again it just proves that we should have these momentum physics to make the game more dynamic and make it more fun, and it encourages experimenting with the controls, which just adds another layer to the gameplay. The islands, because there are what there's technically 5 islands, but in reality it's 3 islands. So we have Kronos, Ares, Chaos, Rhea, and Arenas Island. The first one you go on is Kronos, which is the starting island. It's the tutorial island. For a tutorial island, it's pretty big. It's not the biggest island, but it's fairly large. It basically teaches you like the start of the game. It teaches you all the controls, the combat. You have Ares, which is the desert area, which is a bit more advanced. The size of Ares is like 3 or 4 times bigger than freaking Kronos. And then you have Chaos. We'll get to Chaos later. Fucking. Alright, we'll get to Chaos later. Rhea is not even like an island. It's more like it is literally the second. It's the other side of Kronos, and you can even see when you're playing. You can see Kronos on the if you look on Rhea Island, and Oranos is again another part of Kronos that was split to pad out the game. Basically, what you do on the islands is that you go around as Sonic, running around on platforming challenges, doing puzzles, doing combat to collect Coral Gears from bosses, to go into cyberspace where you can collect Chaos Emerald Vault keys so that you can fight the main titan of each island. Now, is it actually fun to do any of that? From my experience, yes, it is fun. Eventually, like once you get to the final island, doing it's very repetitive. The action of doing that is very repetitive, so it does like wear out. Especially oh, I'm just gonna talk about now. I specifically hate Chaos because one, the island is not designed for Sonic. The terrain of the island itself is super uneven. It's rough. It's like Sonic is fighting against the island itself, and the platforming challenges. There's so much 2D that it actually like it made me so depressed every time I would go, and you can't leave it either. If you go into a platforming section, you have to complete it to leave it, and it sucks even more when it's one you already completed and you can't get out of it. And those treasure chest icons that you find on the other islands, those become sprigs instead of rewards that you would get, like key or XP or something like that. My favorite island personally is Ares because it has the best flow. The flow between different platforming challenges, the platforming challenges themselves are really fun to actually do because they have a lot of variety. The aesthetic of Ares is very nice. I love desert themes. They just something about it just like I like them. I don't know why. Kronos is very good, like a very good starting island. It's very much a tutorial island and it does that job very well. It has very basic puzzles and it has very basic platforming, to get you used to the controls. The platforming challenges, like I said before, it varies from very varied and very unique to Chaos Island. Chaos Island is basically what motherfuckers think that is fucking the entirety of Sonic Colors, bro. I feel like the island that does it the best is Rhea. Mostly because in Rhea Island, basically the whole point is like to climb these towers so you can deactivate them. It's part of the story. So the platforming, they have a lot of time to actually do good platforming for Rhea because that's all it is. It's platforming. The platforming challenges vary, like I said. So you either have something that's really fun and very interactive, and very fun to do, and then you have Chaos Island, which is 2D, it's slow, and it's boring. The puzzles also vary. There's a lot I don't like. Like, for example, there's one puzzle where it's the parry one. Oh my god, the parry one is the worst one, because the parry, how it works is you don't have to like time it. It's just you hold it and then and that's the parry. It's just a guard that it acts as a parry. It's not even a parry, which basically removes the whole fun of parrying where you have to time it right. So I hate the parry one. The sidestep challenge is just boring because it's just you move to this green square or that green square. I feel like the ones that I think are the most fun that are the ones that actually like use Sonic's moveset. Like there's this one where it's like a punching bag and you have to get like a certain amount of points, a certain amount of time, and it's really fun because you get to wail on this like punching bag and get a certain amount. You can see how much score you get, and it's really fun to actually see how much you can get in that certain amount of time. And then you have the time trials and the races, which are my personal favorites because it's Sonic. It's Sonic being Sonic to see how good you are at the game. It actually tests your skill. Are you able to? It's like this. I kind of wish they had one thing I do not like about the challenges in this game is that you can only do them once, and that kind of sucks, especially with the challenges like this time trials, where you only get to do them once. And it doesn't keep your score. It doesn't rank you. The only time you get ranked is in the CyberSpace, which we'll get to that later. I kind of wish that for some challenges you can do them again just to test your skill. Oh, I can get a better time with this, a better time with that. And I feel like they could have added some online play where it's like, oh, this I got a higher score on this challenge than you. Haha, suck my dick. Yeah, you know what I'm saying, right? So the challenges are very, very varied. I kind of underestimated the challenge. I thought they'd be very simple. They do repeat a lot. Specifically, the one that repeats a lot is the memorization one. It starts off like boom, right? The first island obviously is the tutorial, but eventually, like you actually have things. It's like, oh wait, how am I supposed to do this? It actually like makes you think like, oh, how am I supposed to do this, right? So I feel like over time they do evolve, the puzzles, and they get better and better over the game. So the things that you collect in the game consist of power fruit, defense fruit, or cocos. The cocos are basically like the chow in the game. You use them to increase your speed and ring capacity, and use the fruits to increase your power and defense. You give them to the Elder Coco and the Hermit Coco. There's a whole problem with the Elder Coco. The Hermit Coco is normal because I feel like it's because they have separate fruits for each, so you don't have to actually choose, oh, do I want to spend this fruit on that or this fruit on, like the fruit on this or this, because the fruits are separate. But with the cocoa, you only have one cocoa, right? Do I want to use it on this or on this? So I guess that's why. But they could have just added like a slider. Oh, how many cocoa do you want to use? This amount of cocoa or this amount of cocoa? So I don't know. I don't know why they didn't do that. I guess they didn't see it. Or hindsight. Listen, hindsight's 2020. You know what I'm saying? The other thing you can collect in the game is portal gears. And the way you do that is you defeat bosses. And you have bosses like Squid. One thing I'll give this game, and I think everyone can agree, is that the enemy variety is really good. In this game, you have like many different types of base enemies, mini bosses, and all that. I have to say, the bosses, for the most part, they're pretty fun. Well, my personal favorite is Spider, because you start off on the ground, right? And then you have to basically, like, you have to break his legs. You have to turn him into Joe Swanson, right? And then he launches you in the sky, and you have to skydive down. And then you basically fucking slam him, like... And then you start fighting him on the ground again, and then you kill him. I feel like it's fun because it's super dynamic. Another one, just for the pure spectacle, is the Fortress. It's a giant fucking ship that you just, like, it fucking bombs you. Again, the grind rails, it's a little bit boring, but, like, the beginning is pretty fun. Ninja, I love Ninja. It's a one-on-one, and when you get into, like, higher level, like, islands, the moves more varied in its attacks. So you actually have to think instead of just spamming the attack button. Now, combat in this game is very style over substance. That's the best way to describe it, because you attack and, like, for example, you have what? The zigzag move. It's super cool to look at. It's super cool to actually perform, but it damages. That's all it does. It doesn't do any status effects. It only damages the enemy. And then you have Sonic's, like, circle, like, where he has, like, clones of himself and shoots it at the enemy. It's super cool to look at, but it only does one thing. I feel like the only moves that actually do anything are the side loop and quick side loop, and, like, the tornado attack where it launches the enemy in the air. Everything else, all they do is just attack. Now, not to say that it's not fun to pull off combos. Like, it's really fun to actually attack, because, like, enemies actually are kind of smart, and it actually takes a semblance of, like, brain power to actually attack enemies in this game, because they guard. You know, there's, like, openings you have to look for. For example, this is why Ninja is my favorite, because you can't, like, the Ninja will block your attacks and will counter if you're just spamming and spamming. So you have to dodge and you have to parry and you have to pull off different moves. Personally, what I like to do is I like to do a side loop so I can break their guard and then launch it into the air and then pull. That's where I do my combos. Oh, bro, it's so... And once you actually get a good combo, it's so satisfying. It's like... It's not the same level as Devil May Cry, but... One thing I do have a problem with is that it's not that the skill tree is small, because there's a lot of moves in there, right? You unlock the moves too quickly. Like, by the second island, I almost had all the moves, right? So by the time it's on the third island, I'm not really unlocking any new moves. So I'm just doing the same moves over and over and over again. So I feel like the way they can mitigate this is either, you know, make more moves or make the price to unlock them higher so that you're not getting them early on in the game. You know, so we have just... At that point, you're not... What are you getting XP for? You just have a crap ton of XP points for nothing. It does get kind of janky with the camera sometimes, like specifically with Asura, and, like, mini bosses. If you try to combat, like, if you, for example, with Asura, if you're attacking the pillars, the camera gets super janky, and it just ruins it sometimes for me. I'm not gonna talk about the big bosses. That's gonna be its whole section. So once you get the mini bosses and the combat, you get cyberspace gears, and you go into cyberspace. Okay, so this is one of my big problems with the game. Cyberspace is really... Oh my god. It's such a mixed bag. Okay, I'm gonna get kind of pissy right now. Why the fuck are they still reusing Green Hill Zone, Chemical Plant, and fucking Sky Sanctuary for like 10 years in a row already? We get it. You made Sonic the Hedgehog 1. Oh my god. It gets on my nerves. And what pisses me off the most is, why did you just use the 4? Okay, so in cyberspace, you have 4 themes. Green Hill, Chemical Plant, Sky Sanctuary, and I'm pretty sure an original city theme. Why is there only 4? If you're already stealing, why would you stop at 4? You have all the assets from Gens. You have Crisis City, Rooftop Run, you have Planet Wisp, you have Seaside Hill. Try Egg Fleet. Try remaking something we've never seen before. Maybe something from, like, the Advanced series. I want to see games from, like, the Secret Rings or the Black Knight. Games that we never see mentioned ever, get, like, a reimagining. That would be so cool in, like, high definition. The Arabian Nights in high definition. It would look so nice and so beautiful. Something that really pisses me off about cyberspace, besides the reusing of the level themes, and I even mentioned they reuse level design too. Like, the design, like, the level layout itself, they reuse from Adventure. I actually don't mind from Adventure 2. I think that's actually kind of cool. It actually kind of works well with the control. But speaking of control, for some reason, for some fucking backwards reason, they decided to not let you use the open world control. Instead, they made their own control for cyberspace, which again it makes the Sonic feel stiff. Well, not as stiff as like Forces or Unleashed or Gens, but it still feels more stiff than the open world. The jump feels imprecise. You are you are slow. Like you are especially in 2D levels, you are slow compared to the open world and compared to any Sonic game. I feel like with all this shit, cyberspace shouldn't work. It shouldn't be able to. It shouldn't be fun. But for some reason, I can't bring myself to hate cyberspace. Usually, when I get on Frontiers, the first thing I do is play arcade because it's fun to speedrun them. It's really fun to speedrun them because of the hidden tech. Because again, for some levels, it's most levels it's easy, but for some levels, the timing is really hard. Like for example, 1-2, 3-6. I think it's 3-6, and you have different tech. Like you can do an air boost to skip a level. One of my favorite things to do is called an a homing cancel. I'm gonna call it a homing cancel. It's basically where you homing attack and right before you hit the enemy, you boost, and it gives you so much speed. The momentum of the homing attack is carried in the boost, and you go so far. You can skip like a bunch of the levels because it adds another layer of like skill to the cyberspace that's separate from the open world, which I feel like again is why I also have a lot of fun speedrunning and playing this level. Here we go. Here we go. Okay, I'm very excited about this. Now, if you are not a fan of the words peak fiction, gold, raw, fire, click off the video because I'm gonna hear you gonna hear that shit 50 times, bro. Now, please, if you have not beaten the game, skip this. This is probably the best part. Okay, let's go. Super Sonic is fucking peak, bro. I do not know what crack they were on making these boss fights, but holy shit. Final Hazard, Perfect Chaos, Dark Eye, sit the fuck down, bro. This game bosses clear them all. The music is heavy metal, it all slaps. My personal favorite, Undefeatable. The bosses are really fun to fight, especially Wyvern. You fucking chase this mechanical dragon and it shoots rockets at you. You can parry them back and you can put him this this fucking awesome special move where if you parry him, you can Sonic just fucking chucks him and he fucking swings him and he throws him in the fucking mountain. Oh my god, bro. Peak. It's raw. It's so fucking peak and fire. And then, oh my god, the finishing moves for fucking all of them. Oh my god. Okay, for Withering, Sonic just fucking turns the rockets to a soccer ball and he fucking kicks it like he's fucking Ronaldo. Oh my god. For the fucking Giganto boss fight, he pulls a fucking Goku versus King Piccolo and busts a hole through its chest. Like, oh my god. And then the night fight, he takes the fucking sword like it's fucking Final Fantasy Sonic and splits it in fucking half, bro. Oh my god. And then the final boss is just fucking Evangelion. It turns into that fucking angel from the Third Impact in the movie. Oh my. And it pulls the Frieza pose too. The one problem, it's kind of janky. But I don't care. This is something that is so fire, so unadulterated, and so fucking peak. I don't even care if it's janky. The only problem is that there's no way to play them again. There's no boss rush. So if you want to play them again, you're gonna have to either mod it or go and replay the game again. And I'm definitely doing that again. Now, obviously, we have to talk about the music. What is a Sonic game without music? Whew! The music in this game is fire. It's super hot fire. I'm not a rapper, but you have fucking the rapper for Infinite spitting bars. He got his redemption for the Find Your Flame. All the Titan fights are peak. Undefeatable, Find Your Flame, Break Through It All. Oh, I'm Here. Listen, they're all peak. They got Screaming with Sirens to actually make the songs, and you could tell heavy metal. And it's like, this is the music that you associate Sonic with. Rock and roll, heavy metal. And it's not like that type of rock where it's like Jun Sonoe Adventure, but it's heavy metal. It is fucking raw. And with the open world, you get this serene ambience. It's not like where it's Breath of the Wild. Again, with Breath of the Wild, I love the music in the game, but the open world music is fucking dog ass. I'm sorry. It's like they took a piano and they put My Little Niece on there and they decided, okay, just smash the keyboard. This, it's serene. It feels grand. The music fits the theme of each island. With Chronos, you have the sweeping pianos of the mist. It feels mysterious. You don't know what lies ahead. With Ares, it's a desert, so it feels very. It has like a desert theme, like you're in the middle of a desert and you don't know where you're at. It feels very mysterious. With Chaos, it feels grungy and more like grounded because you're in a volcano. And what I love is that there's different motifs as you progress with each island. The music gets more grand and more, especially with Chaos. As despite how much I hate Chaos, the last island theme is fucking crazy. It's so triumphant. Like before you fight the boss, it's this triumphant trumpets and orchestra. It's so good. The cyberspace music, it's a wrap. Otani, see the problem with Forces is Otani didn't know what he wanted to do with the EDM and shit. He tried to mix it with rock and EDM. It didn't work. But he was like, okay, if I'm making EDM, I'm just gonna stick to EDM, and it works because also it fits the theme. And because he decided to stick with one theme, it worked. He actually was able to make something that is listenable. Like it sounds like something I would listen to, and I do listen to it. It's really enjoyable. The ending theme and the main theme, oh my god. They were able to fucking hit up Nate Wants to Battle. Oh my god, bro. One Way Dream is probably my favorite ending theme of any Sonic game. It's so emotional, and the song itself is a message to the fans from Sonic Team, which makes it even more, like it touches your heart, man. It touches your heart in no other way, man. This whole game. Okay, I'm gonna get emotional talking about the music. I want to talk about the story real quick. Now, I want to touch the story just a little bit because I was planning on doing a whole separate video on the story. It's a long story, right? It's to sum it up, it's a very simple story. Eggman unleashes a ancient technology on the Starfall Islands, and they basically trap all of Sonic's friends in cyberspace, right? And Sonic basically has to go and he has to free his friends by defeating the Titans and, releasing his friends from cyberspace. But the evil voice the voice that Sonic's talking to in the beginning of the game is actually evil. It's actually the evil that killed all of the ancients, on the island. Though the actual main base of the story is very simple. It's just Sonic having to save his friends from evil who are trapped in cyberspace. The things that carry it is the lore and the characters. Oh my god, you can tell Ian Flynn was writing this story. And thank god they fucking got rid of Ken Pontiac and Warren Graff. We've had fucking Baldy McFuckhair since fucking Colors in 2010.
Baldy nose hair!
Because he's a Sonic fan. He's a Sonic fan, not just a writer. He's a Sonic fan. So he knows the characters inside and out. Pause. He knows how the characters act, how they talk, how they feel. Knuckles isn't stupid. He's not freaking he's not like The Rock anymore. He's not some big guy. Sonic isn't some corny fuckball. He's like, it's me, Sonic the Hedgehog. Amy isn't some fucking damsel. Oh, Sonic, oh my baby. Nah, Tails is a coward. I love bro. They do Tails so right in this game. They fix my boy. They fix all the this whole game. The story and the writing for this game is basically fixing the characters, right? And I appreciate that so much. So thank you, Ian Flynn. And another thing I find interesting is the Chaos Emerald. We finally get the origin of the Chaos Emeralds. So, the Chaos Emeralds are actually from space. That's all we know. It kind of makes sense, right? But the thing is, interestingly enough, the Master Emerald was from Sonic's planet all along. That's how the ancients got to Sonic's planet, because the Master Emerald was guiding the Chaos Emeralds to Earth. So overall, the story is it's simple, but it's carried by the characters, the writing, and I forgot to mention the cutscenes are very hit and miss too. So, for example, Sonic Adventure 2, in the cutscenes, there's a lot going on. For example, you have Sonic chasing the president in a limousine. You have them breaking into the Arsenal pyramid and sneaking onto a spaceship. You have Sonic and Shadow even when they're just talking, they're about to fight. Like, it's a big fight. It's about to happen. It's about to go down. In Frontiers, it's a mix. When you have cutscenes that have action, for example, Sonic getting chased by Witherin or like attacking Giganto, it's cool. It's actually cool. But a lot of the time, it's just you have that fucking Pokemon. You have that Pokemon dialogue where the characters have to make a full rotation before they can walk in direction, right? Sage, I love Sage, bro. We haven't had a character this well written probably since. Oh my god, it's been a long time. But I feel like her relationship with Eggman and Sage, like that daughter-father connection. If you read the Eggman logs, it builds such a connection. Like, oh, that's Eggman's actually, oh, he's a little baby. Eggman's a little fucking baby, right? What I feel like they could have done is actually make that relationship more prominent in the actual gameplay. Yeah.
What's the password?
For what?
Give me a password. The Wi-Fi.
If they put the relationship and showing it the actual cutscenes instead of it being hidden in the logs, it would have the ending of the game where Sage sacrifices herself. It would feel more impactful, right? Another thing is that the ending kind of feels rushed. Sonic doesn't even acknowledge when Sage just fucking explodes. But besides that, it's a decent story. So, with that all the way, my review for this game is done. This game is probably the most important Sonic game of all time. As of the time recording this, as of December 13th, Sonic Frontiers has sold 2.5 million copies. And that is a lot. For a Sonic game, that is a lot of copies, right? And I hope Sega sees this and they actually put more manpower into the new Sonic game. Because this game was made by 80 people, I found out recently. Only 60 people made this game? How can you have a game of this scale? It's and if you look at the interviews, Izuka was saying that he had to literally beg Sega to delay the game an extra year. Imagine if this game came out last year. This game would be another shit show. So thank God that we even have that extra year to polish the game up and finish it, right? I feel like this game is really important because I hope Sega sees the success and they actually put more manpower into making the games. They put more talent into making the games, more money, because they see, maybe Sonic is actually important. We actually need, to actually make the games good. And they see the success of the movies and the TV show and the comics. And it's Sonic, the games have kind of died down because of, Forces and Boom, especially after Boom. Like, they had a big, drop off in employees, right? So hopefully this game shows Sega that we still want our Sonic games. If our game is good, we want it. We waited 5 years for this game. And I have to say, overall, I'm very happy with it. I keep playing this. I keep going back to this game over and over again. And the DLC's coming out soon, so I can't wait. I cannot wait for the next one. That is my review of Sonic Frontiers. My God, whew. Man, I've been putting this shit out for a long time. I kind of just re-recorded it because I didn't like the script. It felt really robotic. I kind of rambled here too, but I feel like I got my thoughts down more. No, definitely not more concise. But I got my thoughts down exactly how I wanted to. Man, I really can't wait for that new game, though. Especially the DLC. That DLC, I even mentioned the DLC. We get to play as multiple characters. So basically, we're getting like an Adventure 3 kind of. We'll see. We don't know how the characters can be playable. We'll see. But until next time, I see you all in the next one. And just remember, I love you guys.